It's Wednesday, August 27th. The Cardinals and the Pirates are halfway through their 4-game series at Busch Stadium. They have both split 1 win, 1 loss so far. I'm Katie Woo. That's Bernie Miklasz. Welcome back to Cardinal Territory. Bernie, how are you? It's been a strange, eventful, chaotic week so far, and it's only Wednesday.
Yeah, the Cardinals, sometimes the play on the field can be dull, but, sometimes things get a little nuts. So we've gotten a little bit of both this week, but I know the Willson Contreras thing has been the newsiest event that happened this week.
Certainly newsy. For those of you who missed it, I'm not sure how. Willson Contreras was suspended 6 games with an undisclosed fine. Major League Baseball announced Tuesday for his actions in a heated altercation with home plate umpire Derek Thomas in Monday's 7-6 walk-off win for the Cardinals. To recap it, Willson Contreras took strike 3, called strike 3 in the bottom of the 7th, said something as he was walking away. Derek Thomas thought he heard one thing. Contreras said he said the other. Chaos ensued, mayhem everywhere. Ollie Marmol, Daniel Descalso have to hold Contreras back. Contreras loses it on Derek Thomas, makes contact with him, whether that's intentional or not. As he's being ushered back to the dugout, he throws his bat back towards the field of play, actually ends up hitting Coach Brant Brown in the arm. And then, of course, we all saw the bucket of high chews being launched from the dugout. It was an ugly scene. And this all stems from the ejection in which Contreras said, I wasn't arguing that it was a strike 3. It was a good pitch. It was strike 3. He just said, all I said was call it both ways because you're not calling it for both teams right now. Derek Thomas thought he heard something completely different, talked to crew chief Jordan Baker after that, and basically said both Contreras and Ollie Marmol were ejected for vulgar language towards an umpire. The suspension, which again, the MLB announced Tuesday, absolutely has everything to do with Contreras making contact with an umpire and then throwing the bat. You just can't do that. So he will appeal that suspension. The Cardinals will be permitted to play him during that appeal process, but I didn't love it. I didn't think it was a great scene for Contreras or the Cardinals on Monday night.
No, so same here. Listen, I really like Willson Contreras a lot. I also understand why one of the reasons why the Cardinals signed him. I talked to Ollie Marmol about this the other day. You know, they obviously wanted his bat. In fact, since he's been a Cardinal, Katie, this is his 3rd season, as you know, he basically is a top 10 hitter among right-handed hitters in the major leagues that have enough at bats to qualify. I mean, he's a top 10 right-handed hitter in the entire majors. So they wanted his bat, but like Ollie Marmol explained, he said, we thought that our club after 2022, some our Pujols leaving, Molina leaving, retiring, that they needed some edge in their clubhouse. They wanted some intensity. They wanted someone that basically has the Willson Contreras personality. That's one of the things that appealed to them. And Ollie Marmol loves the guy. But I go back to that because I remember why they signed him. I mean, they didn't sign him because he was a great defensive catcher. He's a hard-nosed guy, and he is a terrific hitter. But he's also volatile, and his emotions boil over sometimes. And there's always a risk of something like this happening. But this was his 9th ejection in his career. There's only 2 active major leaguers who have more. Bryce Harper and Manny Machado. And so when you sign Contreras, this is what you get. I love his intensity. I love his hard edge. I love that, to use a James Brown song title, I love the fact that Papa don't take no mess. But he went too far the other night. He just went too far. I mean, that was just bad form. And the worst part of it was flinging the bat and striking Brant Brown. I mean, he was very lucky nobody got hurt. Look, we've all seen players who are angry, curse at umpires, rush umpires, make body contact with umpires. That's happened a million times. That in itself is no big deal. It's a little unpleasant, but it's no big deal. But when you're flinging a bat and you're doing it irresponsibly and recklessly, and it strikes one of your teammates, a coach, that's where I have to say, as a Contreras fan, that's where I have to say, okay, throw the penalty flag. I'm using football now. Throw the unsportsmanlike conduct flag because that was a bit too much.
I agree. And it obviously wasn't intentional when he he shouldn't have done it. Okay. I'll preface with that. But he inadvertently hits Brant Brown. He said he apologized. I get it. Shouldn't have happened. And that's why I think the suspension is so lengthy. Non-PED suspensions. This is the second longest suspension for a player this season. The first Cardinals player to be suspended this season. The only longer non-PED suspension was Victor Robles, who got 10 games for deliberately throwing a bat at a pitcher in a minor league game and then charging the mound. So I understood why the suspension was the length that it was. I will say the way that it was handled post-game. I'll go back to what you said about Ollie Marmol, because I think you're right. Willson Contreras is a very passionate, fiery competitor. He brings a competitive edge to this Cardinals club that was missing. And I think he is, again, very passionate about Cardinals fans, this organization. Sometimes that does boil over to a point where it shouldn't, like on Monday. But to see him come in the clubhouse and the first thing that he did was shout Ollie's name and go find him. He wanted to talk to his manager and sit in the clubhouse and calm down before he talked to us. That shows a lot of trust. It was the right thing to do, because when Contreras was ready, he went to his locker, he sat down, and he waited for us to come up to him. And he answered every question honestly, calmly, reflected on things that he said, reflected on things that he did and shouldn't have done. And it could have been a lot uglier in that case, because when players are running hot and your emotions are high, you just got suspended, you know you're going to be all up in the news. It's natural to just kind of short circuit a little bit, but the fact that he sought out his manager, took some time to calm down, and then was a pro, at least in that moment, asking the questions. And then, of course, on Tuesday, Derek Thomas is the first base umpire, because of course he is. Contreras goes up to shakes his hand and says, hey, it's a new day. Like, I think we can put it behind us, the actual actions on Monday, right. But the suspension for 6 games, that's going to be a big blow for a team that needs Contreras, that needs him offensively. I'm not sure when that appeal process will go through or not. If the Cardinals are lucky, September 1st, because rosters expand that day, so they don't have to technically play a man short. But yeah, all around, I did not love what happened Monday. I thought it was handled very well post-game by Ollie Marmol and Willson Contreras in terms of what they said to us and the communication there. But I'm with MLB here. I think 6 games solely for throwing the bat, whether he meant to or not. It did make contact with a coach. That's scary. That can't happen. So I think this was a fair suspension.
I'll say this too, because someone, in fact, I'm surprised doing Cardinal Territory, excuse me, I'll learn how to speak. That'll help. Doing Cardinal Territory with you, I'm surprised I haven't said anything like a really nasty word, because when I'm just sort of talking and having fun and, yucking it up, I let the words fly. It's a bad habit of mine, one of many. But I have to say, based on the Pittsburgh audio they were able to pick up at their game broadcast, the stuff that he hollered out towards Derek Thomas, once again, it's bad language. It's awful language. But this is nothing new. This happens all the time.
Right.
I mean, players let those words fly all the time. And I'm not blaming Derek Thomas at all for doing what he felt he had to do, because a lot of times it's not the word, it's the way you say the word, or it's the way you use the term. So, yeah, I mean, but Contreras, as you know, is sticking to his story. He didn't feel like he said anything inappropriate or out of bounds. So I don't know. I do know this, and this is another thing Ollie Marmol was talking about. Let's both of us go back to 2023. His teammates, a few of his teammates did him dirty. I mean, he wasn't a Cardinal very long, and he was in spring training, working hard with the pitchers. Other pitchers left to go to the World Baseball Classic. And, the rotation, as got off to a terrible start that year. And all of a sudden they're throwing Contreras under the bus and then putting it in reverse and running over him again. I thought they did him dirty.
I agree.
And the thing that I'll always admire him, even with him making this mistake, I'll always admire him. And frankly, I don't understand why there's a segment of Cardinals fans who they don't seem like they like him at all. I mean, I've seen it like when you write about him, stuff in the comment section. I don't get it. But anyway, he handled that with amazing grace. That after they did him wrong, he was humble. He was quiet. He was, cooperative. He just talking about, I can't wait to work with these guys. I'm here, and the thing about, Ollie said, and this is true. Ollie's never lied to me about anything, but he said, the thing about Willson, you see the stuff on the field, you see him burning with passion, but in the clubhouse, he's like the most humble, quiet guy. You know, he doesn't bother anybody. Anybody can approach him. He loves to talk to his teammates. So I just chalk it up as a bad episode. And my respect for Willson Contreras didn't change at all, because if that's the worst thing he ever does in his career, you'd rather not see it happen. But it's just not a big deal, except for, as you pointed out, he's not going to be able to swing the bat for 6 games or play first base for 6 games. So, and I thought that, maybe, who knows, maybe he did this privately. Maybe he'll convey to his teammates that he apologizes for his actions that left them shorthanded for this amount of games he's going to miss.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Bernie. Look, I think Contreras has been a good Cardinal in his tenure. He's had to deal with a lot of things that were not fair, especially in 23, as you correctly pointed out. He's worn the criticism. He has worn being thrown under the bus by his teammates. He had a bad day. That's all right. I think, again, his standing within the Cardinals organization remains unchanged. It was a unpleasant night, but we move forward, and maybe that appeal gets a couple games dropped, maybe it doesn't, but I think if there's one thing we can take away from that whole episode Monday, Ollie Marmol and Daniel Descalso drop the arm routines. Those guys are strong. Holding Willson Contreras back like that, I was like, you know what? We're not talking about this enough. That might have been the most athletic thing the Cardinals have done this series so far, is the strength from those 2 coaches.
I wouldn't want to mess with Descalso. When I was covering him when he was a player, there's you talk about intensity. He just kind of it's quiet, and he doesn't use his voice very much. At least he didn't as a player. But you would see certain expressions on his face, and you'd be like, whoa, wow, okay, yeah, I'll go over here now. It's hard to explain. He's got an imposing presence about him, and it's one of the reasons Tony La Russa loved him so much, because Tony thought he was like a kick-ass type of competitor. He's not going to put up with anything. So I love seeing that the other night, and I think Ollie's actually underrated in that regard. I think Ollie's actually a pretty tough guy. And
it takes some strength to hold back angry Willson Contreras. I'll say this real quickly before our next segment. There's a Pilates studio local in my neighborhood, and one day I walked in, and Descalso was there in the class, and I was like, awesome. He kicked my ass. So he full on kicked my ass, no doubt about it. Former professional athlete right there. Bird and I will be right back with you. We have some Andre Pallante things to discuss. So let's all take a collective deep breath and get right to it after a message from DraftKings. NFL fans, week 1 just became your place to play free and grow the bag. DraftKings Pick 6, an official partner of the NFL, is here with Bag Builder, a completely free way to play for a share of $1 million or more in cash. Think you can stack some cash? Here's how it works. Download the Pick 6 app, DraftKings' easiest way to play fantasy, using code FOUL. Enter for free. Just make 6 picks, more or less, on player stats for week 1. That's it. It's that simple. No entry fee, no catch. As the player count goes up, so does the prize. Hit all 6 of your picks, and you'll be splitting a bag that's already at $1 million or more. Don't just sit back, get in for free, build a bag, and run it up. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, use code FOUL, opt in, and start stacking entries for NFL Week 1. Zero cost, huge upside in partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. Must claim token for free entry in Bag Builder contest. Only perfect entries earn share of cash prize. Tokens are single use and expire September 8th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
That was impressive. That was impressive.
That was so hard. That was so hard to record.
Speed reading. Can I steal that and put that mandatory read at the end of my videos at STL Sports Central that I do for DraftKings? Can I take that? It was awesome.
Jeremy was like, "Hey, here's the copy. You have to get in under a minute." And I was like,
"Oh, it's great. Great job." As one who knows, great job. Anyway,
thank you so much.
Anyway.
I won't tell you how many times that took, how many takes.
Oh,
we have a usable one, and that's what matters.
That was
all right.
funny.
Speaking of usable, I'm not sure that is the word I would use to describe Andre Pallante at the moment. It was another tough scene for Pallante, who has just really had a poor second half. I mean, it was 5-0 in the first inning yesterday before the Cardinals could record an out. Let's go ahead and look up Andre Pallante's stats from the second half, because I think they are pretty enlightening in terms of what the Cardinals are looking at, and Bernie, you and I know because we've talked about this before pretty much all season long, there is not a lot of depth in this Cardinals organization from a starting pitching perspective. So that is also going to be a factor as we look at Andre Pallante's usage. So in the second half, Pallante's 1-7 with a 7.91 ERA over 8 games. He's logged just 38 and 2/3 innings, has given up 52 hits, 34 earned runs, and has struck out just 31 batters. It really has not been good. And I thought yesterday was probably the worst start yet of the second half for him because this game fell over basically when it started. And we've talked a lot about the things that Andre Pallante is trying to do, whether it's create more spin. Last year was finding an out pitch to the righties. This year it's trying to incorporate the curveball and use the pitch mix so he's less predictable. He's been able to utilize some soft contact, and maybe that inflated the box score a little bit in the first half, but there really hasn't been a lot of soft contact in the second half. These hits are getting hit like they're true, legitimate hits. There are no flukes here. And it was interesting talking to Ollie Marmol after the game after the game Tuesday, because he essentially said that it is a tough situation, but they need to figure out what's best for Pallante going forward. And to be honest, Bernie, I'm not sure what's best for Pallante, if it's to keep him in the rotation. And because if he's going to be successful, these are the types of hitters he needs to retire. These are the types of hitters he needs to figure out how to pitch against. He needs to learn how to pitch at the major leagues. But is it going to be at the detriment of his mental state? Would him going down to AAA to finish the season and just work on his arsenal, work on the mechanics, would that be better for him? I can argue both sides, and that's without even bringing up the point that the Cardinals don't really have a viable starter in AAA to sub in for Pallante. It's kind of a mess.
Well, they could always bring Eric Fetty back, I guess.
There was a moment in the post game where Jeff Jones, the W News Democrat, asked Ollie a question about what we just talked about, and Ollie, in a non-challenging way, just genuine, he likes to do this, genuinely asked, like, "What would you do?" And there was a thought like, "Hey, Fetty's a free agent," and I just wondered if that was said at the press conference, what would have been the reaction?
Listen, Pallante is a grinder, and he's putting his heart into every pitch.
Yeah,
I respect that. This is nothing personal, but this is a performance-based industry. He's a pro. You're either good enough or you're not, and he's not good enough. And I don't know what needs to happen for him to get there. Although, last year he made 20 starts and his ERA was under 4, and I thought he did a really good job. But I'm sure hitters adjusted to him, and he didn't have great command in spring training. His velo was down, so he sort of got off to a bad start, even in prepping for the season. But I don't think this sounds really harsh. I don't mean it to be harsh. I'm just being straight up about it. If he's in the Cardinals rotation next year, the Cardinals are going to, you might as well just go ahead and say they're probably going to lose, the 90 games or something. I mean, they just need to upgrade this rotation. And frankly, he's one of the pieces that has to be moved out of the way to upgrade it. But I also think that if given a choice, I would say send him down, and maybe he can uncover something, and maybe Matt Pierpont can look at him and recommend some things. I don't know, but the dude has to be virtually flawless for his style of pitching to work well. There's just not enough swing and miss, not enough strikeout punch, and he is a captive to batted ball luck. But on the other hand, I don't want to just every time he has a bad start, just say, "Oh, he's unlucky." He's style of pitcher that he is. And if he can't alter that style, if he's physically incapable of doing it, I don't know what kind of future he has. And, the Cardinals this year, including Fetty, they had 3 starting pitchers in their rotation with 20 or more starts whose ERAs were over 5. And, Miklasz and Pallante still here, and that applies. And I'm just doing some research this morning, and I'll just leave it at this because I'm going to write a column after we're done. You got to go back a very long way to find a Cardinals rotation that's got 3 full-time starters with ERAs over 5. I mean, it's a historically bad rotation, and that's got to change. Where he fits, I don't know, but if he's back and he doesn't pitch any better than this, then the Cardinals are screwed again. They're just not going to have enough pitching.
Are we prepared to have the conversation that Andre Pallante might have to be an option for the Cardinals rotation in 2026? Because I think that is a very possible scenario when you look at where this organization stands with their pitching. I mean, Michaels is going to be a free agent. Who knows if Sonny Gray is coming back? Then you have virtually nobody coming up in AAA. Maybe Quinn Matthews if he's ready. But let's take one sidebar. Chaim Bloom, historically, when this is coming back even with the Rays, has stressed the need to almost keep pitchers in the minor leagues longer than they need to really ensure that they are fully ready to develop. And one of the biggest criticisms of this Cardinals organization over the last couple of years has been their need to rush pitching prospects up and not focus on their development for the sake of need to win games. So I don't think Chaim Bloom, based on that and what he has done in the history of the two other organizations that he's worked in, will be rushing pitchers up. So if Quinn Matthews isn't ready, or take your pick in AAA, we can't slot them in, Liam Doyle, whoever, as surefire picks, because the Cardinals don't plan on being competitive next year. And they are not going to rush these very critical arms up for the sake of need. So we are looking at a reality next year where, based on how the offseason goes, this organization might need Andre Pallante to be a starter. And that's where I feel, even though I know every fifth day it does not look good, and you cannot, as a major league team, be trailing 5-0 in the first inning before recording an out. You cannot be consistently down 6-7 runs by the third inning each time this one starter takes the mound. I get that. And this is no knock on Pallante, who is grinding his ass off, trying to figure out what to do, okay? But with that in mind, with keeping that the Cardinals might need Pallante in the rotation next year because they don't have very many options, the best thing to do is keep him in the rotation this year. Look, the Cardinals are almost 20 games out of the division. They're not winning. Yeah. They're not playing for the postseason. As hard as it is, until it starts mentally affecting him to the point where maybe we saw it did with Brian Fernandez in April, you throw him out there every 5 days because they have to figure it out this season, even when it looks really bad. I mean, yesterday it was really bad. And I don't think anyone is going to disagree with that. Here's what Ollie Marmol said post-game, and I thought it was pretty enlightening as to how the organization is looking at it. Ollie said, to keep it simple, the league has made an adjustment. So when you look at what's going to give Pallante success, in order to get back to where we want him, he's going to have to spin it a lot more. And that means he's going to have to be consistent with his spin. Then he goes over and talks about the adjustments that need to be made. And he said, Pallante has to be mentally tough enough to endure some of the crap that goes with learning on the fly. Tuesday night, that's a pretty good example of what you're learning on the fly. Ollie said it's not easy. I agreed it hasn't looked good. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it hasn't, and we have to figure out what's next. And then he went on to go and talk about what is best for Pallante in the future to finish the season, the variables coming up in AAA or lack thereof, though he didn't say it, I did. These all go into play here. I know fans are tired of hearing about it. I think Cardinals fans do understand, or hopefully at this point, considering how long we've talked about it, that the depth is a continuous problem. But if I'm sitting here and I'm the St. Louis Cardinals, I'm running Pallante out there for another start and trying to give him one more shot to figure this out. Talking to Pallante yesterday, rightfully really frustrated, seemed pretty down on himself. If that continues to be the case, and this is hurting him mentally more than it is helping him physically, then we have a different conversation. But if I'm St. Louis, I'm giving him one more shot against the Reds to try to figure this out. And then when rosters expand in September, maybe a different conversation.
Yeah. And again, I don't know who they would bring up. You pointed that out. I know they have a couple of, they signed a couple of rotation fillers just to pitch in Memphis this year. Would they want to bring one of those guys up? Do they need to be added to the 40-man roster? I don't have the answers to those questions, but basically they would be placeholders, right? So I'm gonna touch on something you said because I agree with you, or at least I'm leaning really hard this way. Listen, it's so late in the season. The Cardinals have the worst record and tied for the worst record in the National League since June 30th, tied for 29th overall. They're not going anywhere. It's a lost cause. I respect the players and the manager and the coaches. They want to win. I get it. But just let them pitch. You're shorthanded, and that's the organization's fault for not having enough pitching depth. You're shorthanded. Let him pitch. I think he would want to stay in the major league rotation and try to fight through it, try to work through it. I mean, that actually would be a gesture of respect shown to him. Let him pitch. What difference does it make at this point? I will say this, and I put this on X a little while ago. It's kind of weird. If you look at Fedde, Miklasz, and Pallante this year, the games they started, the Cardinals 26-45. That's a .366 winning percentage. In all other games, they're 39-23. That's a .629 winning percentage. I mean, I'm not saying it's all their fault, but it just shows you. Look, I think even good teams can have one bad starting pitcher, right? But three, you're in a lot of trouble. You are in deep, you know what, right? So here they are, right?
Yep, and it's tough, Bernie. It's tough. And I think fans' frustration with this, and I get it. I think it's justified. Is if you continue trotting Pallante out there every fifth day, then it's just like, okay, well, what do you? We're not gonna like just do the same thing over and over again. It's literally the definition of insanity. This is bigger than this, though. Like what the Cardinals are trying to do for their entire organization is bigger than winning a handful of games in the second half based on what starting pitcher is on the mound. I'm with you. You're only as good as a major league team as your starting pitching. The Cardinals starting pitching has taken a dramatic fall off a cliff, and the record has followed suit. But for the fans that are here saying, well, they're going to throw Pallante up, we're tired of this, there has to be a better option.
And I get it. I do.
I get it. I get it. But this is not about Pallante's taking the start every 5 days. This is about the long-term sustainability of the organization. And this is what teams that are rebuilding do. And it's not fun for anybody. And for this fan base, we haven't had to see a rebuild in 50 years? So it's frustrating. Of course, it's going to look different. And it's maddening if you're a fan. We won't even get into attendance this episode, but that ballpark is empty. And rightfully so, because fans aren't happy about the product they're seeing. You're going to continue seeing the product that you don't like right now in the hopes that it will be better in the future. I think Pallante is the perfect microcosm of an example for that.
And I think people have to adjust their expectations because they're not going to go out and be aggressive about signing free agents. And in fact, I think one of the Chaim Bloom's qualities is he can recognize value signings. Rob Cerfoli, all those guys are really smart. They can spot a trait in someone or a pitch that someone needs to throw. And if you give them a better arsenal, you can turn them around. They are big time into that kind of stuff. So they're going to have to go out because you're so right. If they don't want to rush any of their young starters up here, and I actually think it would be smart not to do that, they're going to have to go out and sign a couple of free agents. And I'm talking about the bargain aisle of the store. And hope that they can do something with the guy to turn him around. But they're really going to have to do that. They're going to have to make a couple depth signings and we'll see what happens. But no, this is not going to be easy, but I also think it's actually the right time for a rebuild to do it right, because you won't be taking these half measure steps, these ridiculous signings where it doesn't make you any better, but you're wasting money on them. If you're going to rebuild, do it right and you'll come out much better for it. So the fans are down on the Cardinals. They're staying away. That's their right. That's their privilege. If you're not happy, then you spend your money and invest your time the way you want. But this is also a good time to do a rebuild because your fans are mad at you anyway. And once they see some progress on the rebuild front, and I think progress will happen. In fact, the Cardinals farm system is shooting up in the ratings all of a sudden because a lot of these independent evaluators have so much respect for the work Bloom and Cerfolio have done already. So we're already seeing some progress. The fans will come back when you give them a reason to come back. And I don't think that they're going to hate the rebuild at first. They're going to hate it. I get it. But when you see some of these guys graduate and you see, well, wait a minute, they do have a plan. And we are seeing some of the results. Cardinals fans have always come back. They went through attendance laws before. This is nothing new. It happened in the 70s. It happened in the early 90s. They always come back, but the Cardinals have to entice them back. But you got to accept the fact they're rebuilding, and they need to, because to not rebuild would be a betrayal, actually, of everything good the Cardinals have stayed for, where you're just going to allow something to stay mired in mediocrity. That would be a terrible thing to do. Give me rebuild every single day of the week if I have to make a choice.
And it doesn't have to be like we talked about, Bernie. It doesn't have to be a complete teardown, nor should it be. It's not going to be, but it is going to be a multi-year look at how to make this organization not just contending again, but a pioneering organization again. And when you listen to Chaim Bloom speak, I know he hasn't really done much this year. The Cardinals have always been a one-voice organization and preferred to be that way. So as long as Mo is here, I think that will continue being the case. But when you have a chance to talk to him, I think fans will quickly pick up on the appreciation he has for baseball history. And he knows that the St. Louis Cardinals, this sticks out to me even now, 10 months after he said it. He said at his end-of-year press conference, the St. Louis Cardinals are at their best when they're leading organizations and leading the industry. I think that's the end goal of this rebuild. It's not just to bring winning baseball back to St. Louis. Of course, that's priority number one, but priority 1A is to ensure that the Cardinals are once again pioneers in player development, pioneers in drafting. I mean, they changed the game. They changed the industry multiple times, whether fans want to believe it or not, under John Mozeliak's tenure. That's, to me, a St. Louis Cardinals baseball. It's not just World Series titles and postseason berths and competitive ball. It's changing the industry for the better, and I hope that's what this rebuild brings this organization. Quick message from Built Rewards, and we'll wrap up this episode. Be right back.
Kratz, if you need to pay rent for your apartment and you're not getting anything for it, then you probably haven't heard of Built.
You have to pay rent every single month. Why not get some points that you can redeem for other things that are a lot more fun than paying rent, like flights, hotels, Uber rides?
That's right. And it doesn't stop there. Built is about making your entire neighborhood more rewarding. You can dine at your favorite local restaurants, and you can earn additional points with VIP treatment at certain fitness studios. And you can also enjoy exclusive experiences that are just for Built members. They announce them every month. Built is turning a monthly expense into an opportunity to earn rewards and discover the best that your neighborhood has to offer. Your rent is finally working for you, and you can earn points on rent and around your neighborhood wherever you call home by going to joinbuilt.com/foul. That's joinbilt.com/FOUL. Make sure to use our URL so they know that FT sent you. Get after it.
All right, as we get ready for Wednesday's matchup, Sonny Gray on the mound. Just got a message from the Cardinals communications team that John King was placed on the injured list retroactive to August 26th yesterday with a mid-back strain. So Andre Pallante has been recalled from Memphis, which means the Cardinals are back to having one lefty reliever, yay, and JoJo Romero. It has not been a very easy second half for King, his second IL stint of the season. Cardinals lineup is out. Contreras is in it, so that appeal process is still going through. If we're looking for a silver lining, Sonny Gray on the mound today, and the Cardinals usually tend to win those games, so hopefully they can do that. Bernie, final thought.
And it's not hot outside. It's nice and cool for Sonny.
So go ahead and book that 7 innings, quality start. Book that.
Right. Go to DraftKings. See what that line of the day is for Sonny Gray for the pick six fantasy.
That's
I think there's a winner there. So cool weather.
The Cardinals are, because yesterday was pretty grim. They don't even have to win games. I mean, from my perspective, though, I would like to watch a competitive game until at least the 6th inning or so. That certainly didn't happen yesterday.
I know you got to go, especially you got work to do. I do too, but I get to stay home and do it. You got to get to the ballpark. But no, I got to say, and listen, I love to watch baseball so much. Like, I'm really enjoying watching Alec Burleson. I'm really enjoying watching Nolan Gorman. I'm really enjoying watching Mason Wynn play defense. I mean, there's still some stuff that grabs your attention and makes you smile a little bit, right? So,
Agreed.
So it's been a disappointing season, but I'm just not like in this mode of a mind frame where it's just like, I hate everything. It's, if you love baseball, there's even stuff on this team that you would like a lot.
And that's what we tried to point out in our positive episode on Sunday. And then the Cardinals had a 4.5-hour rain delay and lost 7-2. So first and last.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
thanks for doing that.
Good to have your back. And then you played arguably your worst game of the season. So It's fine. Hey, we're going to try to salvage the series. Game tonight, game Thursday, and then 3 games against the Reds in Cincinnati. Less than 30 games remain on the regular season docket, Bernie. That is crazy. But speaking of which, I need to get to game number whatever this is. So we'll wrap this episode up. We'll come back with you later in the week for more Cardinals updates. For Bernie Miklasz, I'm Katie Woo. Thanks as always for watching Cardinal Territory. We'll talk very soon.